Okay, and with that, I want to go to final thoughts.
So Jeff alluded to a good point earlier when it comes to guns about how money influences it. There's actually two dynamics at work here. Number one, of course, is the money. So the way it works is that the NRA is largely funded by the gun manufacturers, and naturally they'll do the bidding of the gun manufacturers since they get money from them. And what you find is this horrendous scenario where the people who should be setting the direction of the policy in the United States, the very last people who have the worst conflict of interest are actually the ones setting the policy, right? So money is a huge problem, and again, if you get money out of politics, then they'll no longer have to do the bidding of the NRA, and we can get something done. But the other aspect of it is there was a study done a few months ago that talked about how politicians, both Democrats and Republicans, both greatly overestimate how conservative their voters are. So, for example, the literal example that was given in the study is mind-blowing. They said that your average politician thinks that they're in a district that's about as conservative as a district in Alabama, when in reality they're in a district that's as liberal as in California. So it's those two factors. Number one, the money in politics that's holding us back from getting anything done in terms of guns. And number two, the fact that all the politicians think all their voters are incredibly conservative when they're not. 91% wanted the background check, and you voted against it, you dumbasses. That's pretty much it.
Wonderful. Jeff, give us your final thoughts. Do you have any left?
Yeah. Oh, geez, I've got plenty of thoughts. So I kind of want to tie this back to our first story and kind of talk about how I wonder how many of these people that are hoarding guns, collecting guns, because overall, as a country, there are more guns in less people's hands. It's not a majority of people owning guns; it's a minority of people that are collecting more and more guns. And you got to wonder what they're trying to what they're hoarding guns for. Right, and so I kind of want to tie it back to what we talked about in the first segment is those people that think that the end times are coming, that they need to stock up for Armageddon. And I just wanted to, kind of tie it back to maybe kind of put that idea out there is maybe, why we've seen so many people get so freaked out about guns and why they struggle so hard to try and prevent any kind of common sense legislation from going through. And those are my final thoughts.
Daniel, what are your final thoughts?
Has anybody noticed that it all comes down to the 22% to 33% evangelical fringe element in this country? It seems like if you look at it hard enough, that the reason why they're banning these laws is because the Republican Party, that's pretty much all they have left. The NRA, in many ways, if they're acting on the behalf of the gun corporations, are shooting themselves in the foot, pun intended, is because the gun manufacturers have a lot more to gain in reducing private sale because they don't make any money off of used weapons that are being peddled around in the marketplace. The reason why that they're doing this is because the NRA is losing membership from a lot more people that are realizing that this is just a wing of the Republican Party trying to adhere to the fringe element that the people that are amassing these mass arsenals and etc. That these people reflect that the Republican Party is in utter shambles. There's so many different factions trying to fight one another. And it seems like the Republican Party is trying to adhere to the theist, evangelical 22% of this country. And those are my final thoughts.
All right, Andrew, what are your final thoughts?
Well, this is really a good example of how having a loud, determined group of people, no matter how small they are, 10% compared to 90%, 10% wins. So, I know, I don't want to say, it sounds silly to say it again, but this is money in politics. This is who has influence, and it's not the people that have the influence. So
Absolutely. It's not the people that have the influence. It's the people with the money that have the influence, and that's what makes this country more like an oligarchy than a democracy. Most people probably aren't aware that most states don't even require a license to own, use, or buy a firearm. The enforcements on background checks is minuscule at best, and there are no safety regulations, safety requirements, training requirements. There are no.
I would actually be for that, because look, I mean, make somebody pass a 15-minute check, like, hey, know your safety is, right? You know, this thing makes it go off, right? You know, like in Switzerland or Sweden or wherever, that they don't have a standing army, but all these people have battle rifles. You know, they don't just let everyone have one. You have to show that you can be competent enough to use it. You know, we don't.
Well, yeah, it seems like a simple enough thing. You know, when you get a driver's license,
You make sure
you're required to show that you can drive.
And
So there's no focus on gun safety anymore. We need something like that. I mean, that's what the NRA used to do. They were like, hey, look,
Right.
militaries are really bad with guns, like back in the Civil War days.
That's right. A lot of
That's
people
a
don't
really-
know that. A lot of people don't know that, but the NRA used to be in favor of gun control. They actually helped get the first gun control bill ever in the United States passed.
Well, yeah, because Northerners, they were from the cities more, you know, and they were shooting themselves, cleaning their guns. I mean, it was all the things that are happening now were happening back then, but now the NRA, you know, they don't work for us.
Right.
But we don't have any safety requirements. We don't have any training requirements. We don't have any waiting periods. We don't have any purchase limits in most states in this country. So you can buy as many guns as you want. There are no background checks, especially for internet sales or gun shows. Like I said, that woman in Colorado that shot herself in the face, she purchased her assault rifle over the internet. And she obviously didn't know how to control it. She obviously didn't know how to use it properly. And, you know, you can say, oh, give this woman a Darwin Award, who's going to feel bad for her, but she had loved ones. You know, she had siblings and a mother and people who are going to miss her, and that makes the story sad, even though she herself was an idiot. Anyway, we need to think seriously about gun control in this country, and hopefully people somehow will stop being so reactionary about it. The only way that I see that we're going to get the gun control that we want is, like we've said, like you guys have said, get the money out of politics, get the influence of the NRA out of politics. The NRA used to be about promoting gun control, but it's not anymore. Now it's a force for the gun manufacturers, and they're going to try to sell as many weapons as possible, and they're not going to have your best interests at heart. Right now, we're seeing the number of gun owners going down, but the number of guns in the country going up. And like Jeff said, that's because more people are owning more guns. So those
less people are owning more guns.
I'm sorry, less people are owning more guns. There's a fewer number of people hoarding a massive amount of guns so that they can be prepared for the zombie apocalypse or whatever.
Or imaginary Hitler.
Right, imaginary Hitler. Imaginary zombie Hitler with an army of zombies behind him. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Jeff, you don't want a gun? I mean, with all these crazy people everywhere.
So those are my final thoughts. Get the money out of politics. That seems to be the moral of the story of so many of our topics. Get the money out of politics so that the people can finally be in charge of their legislative processes.